Thank you for the introduction, Tom. We do go back a ways, and tonight it is indeed a real honor to be able to do this for some very dear friends of mine. I've known them for quite some time. I don't know them intimately well. I know of them, and they're just wonderful, genuine, kind people. Well, mostly Sandy. You have been married a long time, and you met back in 1969.
We actually went to high school together.
You went to high school together, and then you married him.
We got married in '69.
What were you thinking back then?
He could dance.
And on Highway 4, south of Rosetown, and where number 4 meets 22, at the RM of Monet, in a town of 500 people approximately, is a town called Elrose. And in Elrose is like a hot stove league, is Giles Midtown Auto Body. So I'd like to ask you just a few lead questions, and you can take them wherever which way you'd like to go. All right. Tell me, and speak nice and loud into the lapel mics. Tell us how you met.
Well, we met because we went to school together. We didn't date in high school. We were out of school and we were at a dance, and he asked me to go home.
No.
What's your side, Lloyd?
I was at the dance with a couple of guys, and she sent her girlfriend over to say, Lloyd wants to dance with, will you come over? Sandy wants to dance with you. So I did.
And
And
the rest is history.
she picked me up.
When did you decide to build your own shop, Lloyd?
Well, I worked at Rosetown Paint and Body starting in 1967. 67? Yeah. And it was okay, but I was a smaller shop and there's just some issues and things. And I thought,
bossy.
What's that?
You're bossy.
Yeah, well. Anyway, back in those days, it really was no big deal to start a shop. All you needed was a building and a paint gun, and it wasn't a big deal. And so we thought, what the hell, let's give it a try. Go back to our hometown. There was nothing there then. And I noticed that a lot of customers at Rosetown were from my town. A huge amount of people was coming up anyway, they knew who I was, I suppose, anyway. So that's what we did. We decided we'd give it a go. She was game anyway. That was half the battle. You can't do it on your own. And so we were kind of anxious to get back closer to home. And that was the reason that we started, I guess.
You built your own shop, correct? With your father?
Well, no, my father kind of backed a loan. We had to borrow $20,000. And about $23,000 got me a paint booth, a building, and a frame machine, and just some equipment, a little bit,
Yep.
And yeah, we were 9 years paying that loan off. Holy cow, isn't that something? But anyway, we've added on to it like 6 times, so it certainly doesn't look like the building it was. It was just a 40 by 60 farm building, really was what it was. Brand new building, but I paid $1,800 for the building laying in a scrap heap at a dealership in Kinnersley. No, $100 extra for color. It was a stainless steel color, like a zinc, but I paid $100 for green. That's how come the building was green. Yeah.
And Sandy, you were in the front doing books and reception and so on. Yes? For all those years.
Yes, the first year that we were there, I stayed working at the credit union to keep us so we could eat. And then the next year, I started doing the books then. Yeah.
To put in perspective, 1971 is when you started.
Yes.
70.
Ken Dryden had just won the Conn Smythe for outstanding player in the Stanley Cup. There was a gentleman by the name of Pierre Elliott Trudeau, who was our premier at the time. Ellen Blakeney, I don't know if anybody remembers that name, was our premier. And I know one of your mentors and someone you look up to was born that year, Justin Trudeau, Lloyd. It begs the question, and I know there's many people out here with an eclectic array of where they're coming from in this industry. As a husband and wife, getting up together, having breakfast together, going to work together, working together, coming home together, and spending the evening together. How did you make that work?
I had to keep my mouth shut.
I don't think that's possible, Lloyd.
No. The first thing you have to be is friends.
Friends.
You have to be friends. And then the other thing is we complement one another. He's bossy.
What?
And he's,
No.
and yes, he is. And he's more, how would it be? He was able to be more the business person. I'm a wimp. If somebody didn't pay a bill, I couldn't ask for the money. I had to get him to. So we complemented one another. I was softer and he ran the business that way and it worked really well for us. And we'd go home and it was great to be able to chat with each other about what went on during the day and figure out what we should do differently. So
How does he get mad?
he won't talk. I get mad and talk, but he just doesn't answer.
Oh, he goes into a cave.
Yeah,
Actually, you know,
I can relate.
the whole thing was, the way it worked with us is I was kind of the people guy and I BS with all the customers but she was the smart one. So she kind of hid me in the back and she's the front end kind of, right? So she was the face of the place. It was kind of up to me to run the back and I painted for 13 years when we first started to, all that kind of went down that way. But as we went along, it was just as easy for me to let her do all that stuff on the front end because she was better at it. And she certainly was smart. So she did books for the town office before I even met her. So, you know, that kind of thing worked out well. I didn't have to worry about a lot of the bookie part of it because that's what she did. She was really good at it.
Was there ever a conflict dealing with customers? A different way of doing things?
Yep.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah. We don't totally agree on some of those things, but we made it work.
made it work.
Yeah.
Sometimes
All
I
right.
got a speech after the customer left. Yeah.
Let's see how well you know each other. How long you been married?
52.
52. All right. Sandy, what is your favorite holiday destination?
I have two. We love Disneyland and Hawaii.
All right. Nice one, Lloyd. He got Disneyland right. What is your favorite dance?
I like all dances, but I think we do the jive and the two-step pretty good.
I asked Lloyd this question a few days ago. That was bang on. She likes all kinds of dance, but especially jive. 2 for 2. Good
She's a
job.
very, very good dancer. Too.
Good job. All right. Sandy, what is your favorite styles of movies?
Well, not what he likes. He likes rootin' tootin' shooting things. I like feel-good stuff, like the Christmas movies.
Hallmark movie.
Homework.
Hallmark movies, which is what Lloyd says, and he had a tag on it. He says, geez, those are awful movies.
It's the same person in every movie.
All right, Lloyd, I asked these questions to Sandy. What do you think she said when I asked her what your favorite food was?
I don't think I have a favorite food. I'll eat anything. Steak, I suppose.
It was bang on. It was exactly that. He said he likes all kinds of food, but he'll probably say steak. All right, you're 4 for 4. When it comes to this lovely lady you've been married to for all those years, is there a pet peeve that you might have?
About her?
Yes, you sure do.
Well, I bitch all the time. No, I don't.
Think about
Well, I don't, pet peeve is, she doesn't hit the ball very far.
when you're driving.
Oh, she bitches about my driving constantly. Jeez. I'm
All
a
right.
very good driver.
And your favorite singer, Lloyd?
I don't really have a favorite singer. I like Elvis. I like all rock and roll stuff, really is what I like.
Oh, I
50s
didn't
and
do that
60s
one
stuff.
good, did I?
Sandy said Biff Naked.
Who?
I said Patsy Cline.
Oh, Patsy Cline. Yeah, see, I never knew her. But she's
Patsy Cline. All right. You have 2 kids.
We do.
All right, and this is a question because a lot of people it will resonate with. You're raising two kids, you have a very busy business, you work together, those kids are in school, and I imagine athletics and so on. How did you juggle all of that? Any tips that you could tell us?
I went to work and she raised the kids.
You know,
Honest to God, I can tell you that. Like, and she'll say this, you don't remember your kids growing up. And this is something you guys got to think about. You know, I worked long, hard hours and I kind of had to back in the day, I guess, but it got to be a bad habit. And then, you know, your kids are in band and your kids are in these things. And I missed a lot of that. I should have been there. You know, I had to go back and paint a truck, and Saturday I had to be there to do some stuff and call people, and they're off to something. And
but
honest
you
to
did
God,
Brad's hockey.
oh, I managed hockey with Bradley, but my daughter, I didn't spend much time there. And I can tell you, if it wasn't for her, they would have been juvenile delinquents. Holy crap.
Did you ever approach burnout? Did you
Burnout?
ever approach burnout or experience it?
Were you
Just an
burned?
overwhelming
Did you
feeling?
Burnout.
No,
No?
no, I don't think so. You know what, if you do that all the time, it gets to be normal. It really is. You know, I mean, you guys know that. Lots of you guys work long hours and you spend lots of time in the shop, and it becomes, you can hardly kind of wait to get out of the house and go back to the shop. It's just how bad it is. It's kind of addictive or something. It's just the way it kind of went, you know. And you know, when we ran that place by ourselves. We had a huge business there with like 7 or 8 guys, lots of times. And her and I ran it, just the two of us, never had anybody. So you got to spend time there. You got to be there after supper. You have to go back Saturday and make sure things are right. You got to be there Sunday to get ready for Monday morning. That's just the way it went.
Yeah.
And it got to be just a normal thing, you know.
There's a wonderful little dirt track race down in Estevan, Saskatchewan that I went to earlier in this summer. And when I was there, I honestly looked at everything going around. I said, Giles used to do this.
Yeah.
You were a dirt track racer, yes?
3 years, yeah.
Yeah. Did you have the goggles on?
We had no windshield in it. Yeah, we had to wear goggles. There's no windshields in the car. Those old ratty things that took the front end off of and had a screen in case a rock came through, you know. That's all it was. It was just a dirt track thing.
Where did you race?
Rosetown.
In Rosetown?
And bigger.
Yep.
Once in Saskatoon. But there, I remember the week before we got married, I had a race in Rosetown, and her parents showed up, and everybody thought, well, he's going to break his arm for the photography. Can you imagine? They didn't want me in a cast for the picture, so they're having a fit. And I remember her mom and dad thinking, you know, you really shouldn't be doing this. But I always said, you can't get hurt racing the stock car, right?
Yep.
Exactly.
Exactly. Rural Saskatchewan. I don't have any experience running a shop or being in a shop in rural Saskatchewan, but I had heard and I watched and I observed there's some challenges there.
Yeah.
And how did you overcome some of those challenges and some changes in the trade that you might have occurred in those past years?
That's a hard one.
Well, you know, rural, like, we were on an even keel with the cities, and there were some rules that, well, lately, the rules were tougher on the cities, I'm sure they were. In rural Saskatchewan, though, we had a road adjuster that came out once a week. We became friends with those road guys. That's how it was. And, you know, it was just a neat thing. Like, we just ran it that way. And over the years, SGI would do things like pay us more. I remember those 2 years where we get paid a higher labor rate than Saskatoon because we had freight. They wouldn't let us in there in a freight bill, but they give us a little bit more money on the labor rate just to cover that kind of stuff. As far as challenges, really, the only challenges I would think we really ever had was hiring staff. You know, to get a guy to come to rural Saskatchewan is kind of tough. And a lot of the women didn't want to come. The guys might have, but there was no Walmart close. The school was kind of small. You know, you guys have experienced that, you guys with rural shops. So we had a lot of local guys that we had hired, but my guys, I had a guy work for me 47 years. He just retired a couple of years ago. I had a painter was there for 40 years, and one guy was there 38 years. We had really long-term employees that were originally from Swift Current or my hometown or Rosetown, the one guy, and they liked it there and they didn't like the cities, and I don't know, it just worked out. You got to treat staff well, you know, and you've got to be sure that they're looked after, and benefits we had benefits that the shop, lots of shops never ever gave, and they appreciated it, and they liked Sandy, and everything went along really good. Really wasn't a big deal. Didn't like me so much, but they liked Sandy.
Your relationship with SGI, just talk about that for a moment.
Well, the SDI people that I dealt with, those were the road adjusters. We had a really good relationship with the road guys. Like lots of times I'd come to meetings like 30 years ago, I'd hear guys saying, I'm sick of this and I'm sick of that. I said, I got no problem. Like shit. Tom got saying, well, you shut up because these guys are having trouble. And you seem happy, but don't tell SGI you're happy. For God's sake, you know? But I always had issues. Like I was sick and tired when I was on the board and when I was president of the association. I was really sick and tired of how they were treating us in general. Like I wasn't sticking up for myself. I was trying to stick up for some of the shops that are really getting ragged on bad and getting treated poorly. And we never had to worry about callbacks and all that kind of stuff. Like we just, I remember the adjuster taking a statement and I wrote the estimate. That's what we did. It was great, you know. The guy would give you a couple extra hours because, you know, of freight or we had a really good relationship with the road guys mostly. But as I got to know the head office guys, there's some great guys down there. I wasn't afraid to say stuff.
Yeah.
We know that.
Well, somebody has to say something, you know, you can't sit on your hands, and guys sit on their hands, let's face it, that's what they'll do, but you know, you can't let them run over you, but they're generally have been pretty good guys. If we compare Saskatchewan to Alberta and Manitoba's bad, like we've been treated very well generally, you know.
Yeah. Lloyd, in the shop that you have, you must have been employees who come and go.
Mhm.
Who did the hiring? Who did the firing? And when you hired, was there a trait that you were looking for? Something something innate, something that you couldn't really put your finger on, that I like this kid or I like this young lady and I want to hire them?
You know, and I can honestly say we never had a lot of traffic through our door. We didn't have a lot of hiring and firing. We had some. But you know what? I had a guy that hired himself. It was, you know, when you really need a guy, let's face it, sometimes they interview you. Like I can tell you, lots of you guys that have got choices have no problem. But in rural Saskatchewan, you can be looking for a man for a long time. When a guy shows up that looks like he's got a pulse, I mean, that's what we used to do, let's face it. No, he's a good guy and he's doing a good job. We had issues with banking. Of course, anybody that tries to do this will know what I'm talking about. But other than that, it was everybody knew Kirsten and just like a guy that was there all the time. And I walked out and he walked in. It was simple as that. You know, worked out good. I'd hired. We had never had managers or anything in the building. So in September, I hired Scott. Scott's here someplace. He's the shop manager. And we hired an office manager, a young lady from Lacadena, does a very good job. So when we left, everything was just ready to go. In fact, we should have done that a long time ago with the office manager and the general manager, but it was just an extra expense and we didn't want to do that at the time. It worked out okay. But yeah, doing a good job.
Yeah, we're very proud of them. They've just slipped right in and made everything work and people are coming and yeah, we're very proud of them.
Young guys.
Yeah, young,
Yes.
yeah,
What will you miss the most?
the people,
People?
the people.
Tell us a little bit about some of the characters, some of the most outlandish, outrageous characters that have frequented your facility. There's got to be a few.
I don't, there's lots of them. I can't, I mean, we've had some wingy guys in there, I'll tell you. But I can't think of anybody specific. It's the way it is in businesses. You know, you've been there so long, you might probably forget some of the good stuff. It was, you know, it was just I can't think of what it was.
I'll tell you one funny story. I had a man come in one time and he brought in an old, it was a flower pot. It was just a plastic flower pot. And it had a crack in it. And he said, well, could he get this fixed? And I said, well, it's just a plastic flower pot. You'd be better to just go buy a new one. He said, I'd like to speak to a man, please.
So I fixed it for $2.
So he laughed.
I painted all the mannequin or all of the football helmets for Evan Hardy schools here in Saskatoon. And I thought it would be a great deal, but there was like 120 of those things. Some of the more outrageous fixes or repairs that Charles Midtown has seen.
The problem is with small town auto shops. They take on everything. We don't say no, we sign on it. So, but more pretty much. Because, you know, this is not a very great deal. Like we're the welders and all of your area. Two guys out 40 miles so we did it. Curses is no.
Mackenzie, ready? I want to ask you one thing. Just put yourself in this position. You are king for the day. Okay? You can wave a magic wand. You can change anything in the repair industry for the future.
I don't know. I wish it was still around this list. Way fast. I went from in the last 3 years. Thinking my filing, somebody might saw it or. And I stayed that way. It didn't stay the same too long. It's not so that I think people expect to do that great job. Reputation. The automotive industry, let's face it, guys, had a fairly poor reputation. And for years and years, people expect that from not doing the same.
What about to take this and plug in here? That would make more sense.
And all that stuff. Well, then all of a sudden, things started.
Right here.
And they changed way too fast. And it's hard to catch up. It's hard to keep up. In the last 2 or 3 years, we've experienced some horrible changes in the industry. It just big things, you know, we all know what they are, electronics and that type of stuff. And the customers are totally.
Presents on one system.
You know, you can talk about this stuff. How many guys have experienced a kid because they're in your place that you know more than you do down there? Because he's Google, right? Or he's went someplace. We never used to get that stuff.
That's a good point. Yep.
And it's the way it is now. And it's almost like, yeah, let him come out of there. You know, because you get over and you're trying to talk the kid down and like, that is the way it used to be. He doesn't care. He's doing it because he knows how to do it once it's done now. It's changed. It really has. And I wish we'd slow down just a little bit. You know,
I like that. That's
give
dear to
everybody
my
a
heart.
chance
I
to catch up,
understand.
you
Yeah.
know, take a breather. I mean, it's almost moving so fast we can't afford it. That's kind of what's happened lately. But you got to do it. You got to do it. You can't let it slide. You got to, you know.
Now that you're retired, you have an opportunity to slow down. Sandy, I want to ask you, what's the next step for the Giles?
Well, I don't know. We hope to travel a little bit, but of course that's not possible right now very much. So, but I don't know. We haven't really made any plans. We just, yeah, we'd like to do a bit of traveling with our dear friends, the Bissonets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I picture you both on a Saturday night doing the jive to Biff Naked. Mr. Bruce McKenzie, if you could come up, he has a special, something he would like to give you.
Thanks. I was just thinking 50 years. I mean, that's an incredible length of time to be in business. And I mean, you know, when you ask the question about dating, and I'm thinking, dating? Like, how did you do it? Today, it's like swipe right, it's the websites, it's that whole thing. And I'm thinking, how did you communicate? Was it Pony Express? Like,
Pretty
how
close.
did this all happen here with
Come on, Bruce.
So, And I mean, again, I'm not probably that much younger than you are, but I'd like to think I'm probably 10 or 15 years younger than there.
Probably
But
are.
again, we're very proud as a company, PPG, that the Giles Midtown Auto Body supported PPG for 25 years. And we just wanted to present you with a plaque showing our appreciation. And I've got a gift certificate here. I know you enjoyed going to the dunes and
Yes.
playing the casino and all those types of great things. So again, I want to present to both of you.
Well,
And
thank you.
maybe you could stand up and give me a big hug. How's that? Would that be okay? I mean, I know it's COVID and the whole rest of it, but I mean, it just wouldn't be the same unless I could do that tonight. Oh, you're very welcome.
I think Sherry's back on the air, but look what she's
There you go. Here's-
trying to say something. Well, thank you very much. That's really nice.
I'll
Thank you.
give you the money
You give
because
me
you're,
the
because
money.
you're the money person,
That's
right?
it. Well, thank you very much.
Now, just a quick story about this Giles Midtown thing. When I first started, we started in Elrose, we had a little dumpy building in the middle of town. And I was gonna call my place Midtown Auto Body, right in the middle of town. And that was back when Midtown Plaza had just opened their doors. Kind of a popular Midtown thing, right? Everybody's talking about it. So we went with Midtown Auto Body. Well, the guy, thank God, didn't want to sell me that building was a hole. And we moved out to Railway Avenue, which is still close enough. So we called it Midtown Auto Body. Well, there came a day when some smart accountant told me I should incorporate. Midtown Auto Body was spoken for, so we put a Giles in front of it. I regret to this day. Giles was a big mouthful, the whole thing. So we went with Giles since it was 1977. So when we changed and sold to Kirsten, we changed it back to Midtown Auto Body. The Giles is missing off the front of it. Thank God for what I always kind of wanted. That was the whole deal. That's the story behind Giles Midtown Auto Body.
All right, Tom, I'll get you to come up to the front, but not before we give these people a huge round of applause for the 50 years that they spent together at Giles Midtown Auto Body in Elrose.
Okay? Out of here? We're done?
Okay,
Can
if
we
you want the
leave?
really, pardon me, am I on? If you want the really colorful version, you guys can stick around and talk to Lloyd afterwards. Sherry, did you get a chance to say anything yet?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, great. Oh, good, good. I just want to say congratulations, Mom and Dad, on 50 years, and what an accomplishment to have business. From far and wide, I would say, growing up, I'd say, my name is Sherry Giles, and they'd say, not Lloyd and Sandy's daughter. So I was, always well known, and just so proud of the work that you've done through the years. I loved after schools going and hanging out at the body shop, or late at night we'd get a call and go on a tow call with Dad. And it was a really great way to grow up. So couldn't be prouder. Congratulations.
Can I tell you one story? Can I tell you one story?
One story, yeah.
About him going on tow calls. One time I was at a meeting and he had to go and he was pulling someone out of the ditch. So he took the two kids with him. They were just little. So I get home. It's lucky they're alive. He hooked on a tow rope and it broke and it came right through the back window of the truck between the two kids.
I did that several times.
Lloyd did that? I
Yes.
can't believe it. Next thing you know, he's probably gonna take his son on a motorcycle trip across Canada.
He did that.
And what happened?
He wrecked.
Oh, yeah.
That was another fun trip.
There's so much more to the story, isn't there, Sharon? We could go on for hours.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
You know, we've come to know Lloyd and Sandy, and I call him lovable Lloyd because he's so cantankerous. And I used to call him their shop when I was working for a company called Premier Auto, where they used to be scared spitless to go in there because I was scared of him. But my boss told me you have to make 8 calls a day. and he was my 8th call. I hated going there, but every time I go, he'd give me shit, and then Russ was walking out the door, hey, come back here, I'll buy something, otherwise you won't come back next month. Yeah.
He was a little skinny, smart ass kid. I'll tell you, I can remember he was plain as plain, but you were persistent. You're still persistent. I tell you what, if it wasn't for Tom being persistent, guys, we'd be in a lot of trouble in this industry. I can tell you that right now.
Yes.
Richard, are you in the room? Right there. Richard? I wasn't that obnoxious and persistent, was I? But you must have one quick Lloyd story you could share before we move on.
Please, no.
Yeah,
Not from Richard.
I want to hear from Richard. Come on.
I'll tell some later.
Okay, Rob. See Richard Anderson?
One thing is Sam would never let us hang out.
I know. Every time that he goes someplace, if he was with me, it was okay. If he was with Richard, it was okay. We'll talk about that later. But anyway, thank you very much, Lloyd and Sandy Giles.
Thank you.
50 years